Murder in the morning from the Hidden Killers podcast.
It's been a very interesting case to watch, and we are still watching it very closely. It's the case of Firefighter, Grace Holland, and Sarah Sweeney. The medical examiner's report on Sarah Sweeney has come in, so we now know more about the cause of her death, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. This is raised so many eyebrows because firefighter Dowse has had two fiancés die in his home in 3 years. One, suicide, they believe, although there's been questions about that. And then this woman, Sarah Kathleen Sweeney, who's 39, found deceased in the firefighter's home in the village of Westwood near Frontenac on January 13th. It raises some eyebrows, certainly, but there is a lot of medical issues that Sarah Sweeney did have as well. Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Gershom Norfleet determined that Sweeney's cause of death was oxycodone. I'll let you say the next two words.
Oh, yeah. Gabapentin and diphenhydramine intoxication. But diphenhydramine is Benadryl. So that's over the counter. That's for allergies and things like that, or sleep.
The manner of death remains undetermined. According to the medical report released by Frontenac PD, Sweeney was discovered with no apparent signs of trauma. The investigation suggests she was alone at the time of her death. In response to the findings, the Sweeney family issued a statement expressing gratitude for the investigative efforts. Our family has complete confidence in the thorough investigation made by the St. Louis County Medical Examiner's Office and the Frontenac Police Department. They said, we'd like to thank them for their hard work in this case and their kindness and compassion with communicating with us. Acknowledging the ongoing police investigation, the family urged privacy, stating, our hope is to close this chapter of our lives soon so that we can grieve, move on, and continue to honor the memory of Sarah. Days after Sarah Sweeney's tragic demise, the attorney revealed that she battled severe health conditions, including a life-threatening bone disorder and mast cell activation disorder. These conditions shed light on potential factors contributing to her death, raising questions about the circumstances surrounding her passing. Complicating matters further, the home where Sweeney was found, deceased, had a troubled history. It belonged to a man whose fiancée, Grace Holland, died of a single gunshot wound to the head 2 years prior. While police initially classified Holland's death as a suicide, her family has harbored concerns about the investigation's integrity. Through their attorney, Holland's family has called for a meticulous examination into Sweeney's death, citing lingering doubts stemming from Holland's case. However, no charges or arrests have been made in connection with Sweeney's death, and the firefighter's identity and department remain undisclosed. It's not hard to find that if you really want to look that up, though.
Yeah.
It is a weird case. It's a very weird case where he may have absolutely nothing to do with these deaths whatsoever. Grace Holland did suffer from mental health conditions. There was a history of attempted suicide with a firearm.
Yeah, that's right.
One actually did succeed. Is that the fault of this firefighter? I don't know. There's a lot of questions that surround this because it certainly doesn't look right on the surface, but not everything is exactly what it appears to be either.
So I know you've got a little bit of a history with ghost stories.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that this house needs to be dealt with in some fashion?
I think people need to be dealt with more than homes.
Okay, because I'm just wondering if we need to grab like a couple bundles of sage and, go through the house and cleanse it because, him. How unlucky is this guy?
I think, whatever makes people feel like they're doing something or that if walking through a house with sage and saying a prayer helps you, great. Do I think it genuinely changes anything? No. I think it's all 100% within your mind and what's going on. And there's a lot of trauma that sounds like these women had. He sounds like someone who, and I don't know, but there had been some allegations of abuse and such with him. But other people that I've heard on the other side of this kind of think maybe he's kind of a fixer type guy where, or goes for women who have some problems and need some help and need somebody to rely on. And
oh, he's the knight in shining armor.
And they're not always the most healthy either, and things can go awry pretty quickly. It doesn't mean he killed them, but if you're getting people who are already essentially self-destructed into your life, and they're still hell-bent on self-destructing, things can go awry pretty quick if that's the type of person that you are attracted to or bringing into your world, even with the best of intentions. Or driving them to that by being, and I'm not saying he is, I'm just saying, people who are abusive can certainly drive people to do horrible things to themselves as well. I don't know.
Absolutely.
There's just so much gray area in this case, but certainly raises eyebrows. But at the end of the day, on this one, I think as much as everybody was hoping, like maybe this will turn the table on this or present some sort of evidence that we're not seeing, I don't know that it is. It looks like she, overdosed or she had a bad reaction to the medication she was taking. Doesn't look like something where, he slipped this to her in a drink or something, or, expected it to be something that would kill her. These seems like things that she was taking on her own.
This is intentional. She's a physician. She knows what gabapentin does. In the veterinary world, we use it for anxiety for pets. Mm-hmm. In the human world, it's used for nerve pain and sedation of sorts. Yeah. You combine diphenhydramine with any of those two, oxycodone and gabapentin, you are not going to wake up.
So she knew what she took.
She knew what she was doing.
Okay.
If that's the case, because these drugs you don't take together, oxycodone and gabapentin, I don't know for sure. I'm not a pharmacist, but I don't think those two should be taken together because they're such depressants. And then you add diphenhydramine in there, Benadryl. Mm-hmm. That depresses you. If you can't sleep, you can take a Benadryl. Mm-hmm. It's over the counter. So she knew that she was going to depress her respiratory system. She knew. She's a doctor. She had to have known. I can't imagine this was an accident.
So it looks more like this was probably a suicide.
On the surface, it feels like it to me because those are some very sedating medications. If you're taking all three of them together, mm-hmm. I think you would expect something to happen and not something good.
I mean, people can get their hands on, whatever they want to get their hands on if they look deep enough. But these aren't necessarily things that he would have access to, would he, as a firefighter?
We never had gabapentin in the med. So a firefighter wouldn't have access to that. They would have diphenhydramine. Mm-hmm. Because that's used for anaphylactic reactions. The oxy, I don't think so. There would have been different pain relievers that they would have in the ambulance. To me, those are ones that you have to write out a prescription and take to the pharmacy.
And if they can trace it,
and if she had a bone disorder of some sort, oxy, I could see her having that for pain relief. Gabapentin can be used for nerve disorders and pain relief. Mm-hmm. The diphenhydramine seems a bit intentional to me.
Yeah.
It's not just for allergies. There are some other things you can use it for, but that's a very sedating cocktail that's sitting there.
Sure. And being administered by someone who would know better.
Exactly. This isn't somebody who had all three of these drugs and didn't know they couldn't take them together. This is a doctor. They absolutely know. These are very common medications.
Yeah.
So the oxycodone and gabapentin interaction, it's listed as high. So it's a major contraindication to take the two of them together because it can cause central nervous system depression, serious side effects, including respiratory distress, coma, and even death with those two combined. That doctor had to have known that. And then you throw some Benadryl in there, I think you knew what you were doing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the case. We'll keep watching. I recently received a giant dump of information on this case that I need to start going through. That one of our listeners who's very much into this case has obtained through legal purposes, and it looks very interesting. But I don't know that it's going to be necessarily the outcome that a lot of people are going to think, though, either. Because I don't know that it necessarily points to this being a murderous human being, Mr. Dowse. So certainly a lot of eyebrows raised on the surface, and investigators need to certainly take a close look at what is going on. But if at the end of the day, it's just sometimes things look bad. Sometimes things just look bad, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there is something bad going on. It's a very questionable one at best, and we'll continue to keep an eye on it.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free.
So you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.